So super excited about today because we're talking with our partner Growth Studio and the co-founder Ryan Jowett.
How are you, Josh?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
So we're going to ask him some really pertinent questions about our partnership with Growth Studio, how they're working with us to support and scale brands, and just get under the hood of who Growth Studio are and how you're helping brands get to the next level.
Let's go.
First of all, who are Growth Studio?
Well, Growth Studio, at Growth Studio, we're experts in the commercialization of new technologies and new products, because there's a long gap between having an idea and that idea actually becoming a product or a solution and making money.
Yeah.
So we take new ideas and we just shorten that path between the idea and actually making money.
So how did you originally come up with the concept for it? You must have spotted a gap.
Well, when I was working in marketing agencies back in my employed days, we used to have entrepreneurs coming to talk to us about new things that they developed, new products they developed, new websites even. And we wouldn't really ever take them seriously because obviously we're the big boys in the marketing world. We know how to bring solutions to market. But 6 months later, a year later, they'd be back in our offices and they've had incredible growth. So I asked myself a question, and that's, what are they doing that we as the experts aren't doing?
Okay.
And that's the discipline that I learned and brought into Growth Studio and built a team around. And that's what we now do with startups from around the world. We work across 18 countries in the world with multiple corporates, and we run acceleration programs.
So on the acceleration programs, you're doing beauty and now you're doing wellness.
Correct.
What for you has been the big kind of catalyst to branching out from not just beauty to wellness?
Well, it's not just wellness that we branched out into. We've also branched out into fitness and also fragrance. And the reason is, these are massively high growth sectors. In a world of AI where tech is being super disrupted, people still go to the shops, or people still order their skincare products, their wellness products, their fragrance products, and their fitness products. These are booming sectors. Wellness alone is going to be worth almost 10 trillion by 2029. I mean, these are massive numbers, right? So it was really easy for us to say, okay, we know the discipline of how to commercialize a tech solution, and the principles are the same for consumer products, but the application of them is quite different. And the reason we went into acceleration programs is we can do this at scale. We're really good at looking at a startup and evaluating it just like a VC would to work out which is the right products that we're backing. And by taking a number of startups together, we get an incredible amount of energy, and then the osmosis of knowledge between these teams as well. We create something very, very special.
So in terms of an accelerator program, can you just give myself and the audience just a high level overview of what it is you guys are doing and how long it takes and what's involved in actually putting it together?
Yeah, of course. So look, ultimately, an acceleration program, or our acceleration program, Breakout Wellness, is really about promising two things. The first promise we make is to startups and scale-ups. And that promise is that we are going to prepare you for the world of retail, because it's a fundamentally different business model, right?
Absolutely.
So to selling online versus being on the shelves at a retailer, very different business models. And we're going to prepare these teams to do that. The other promise we make is to the retailers. So shelf space is fundamentally limited. So the decision that buyers have to make is, what do we put on these shelves? And what they want are not necessarily the highest selling products, but the right product and the best product, because the best product isn't necessarily the biggest selling product. We solve those problems as part of this acceleration program. So by understanding exactly where the gaps are that these startups or these scale-ups have, we fill those gaps so that they can confidently approach retailers with a proposition that's compelling and persuasive.
Okay, that's really interesting in terms of, just because it's not high selling doesn't mean it's not the best product.
Well, of course. Look, I mean, one thing that we focus on a lot here at Growth Studio is diversity, both diversity in people, but also diversity in products. And there's plenty of products that are not necessarily mass market products. but they are really important products. Like, one of the biggest gaps in the wellness sector is the extent to which ethnic minority folk are catered for in this sector. And by definition, that's not going to be a mass market product, but they are still
an addressable market.
It's an interesting market, and it's an important market to serve. That's just one example of many.
So you've obviously done a lot of different accelerator programs.
We have.
Who would be some of the notable brands that people would recognize in retail today, or if they were shopping online?
So we worked on a number of different accelerators. We've looked after all of Amazon's sustainability accelerators as well. So we work with a lot of very well-known brands. Omni is a great example of a brand we worked with, a pet food company who've just recently raised 11 million.
Wow, okay.
We worked with Buy Erin, who have launched across Boots stores, and also Make Waves, who are launching across Boots stores as well. There's also Ethosa that we worked with, who are sustainable shower gels and sustainable shampoos. So we worked with a number of different brands, but in total, the brands that we worked with have raised over 80 million in funding. So we're super proud of the brands we worked with. But I think it's just a testament to the approach that my team take to really understand who we're bringing onto the program and why those brands really matter.
So you guys are essentially almost kind of like a Dragon's Den in a way.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one way of looking at it. It begins with receiving an application, which is a fairly lengthy application. So for anyone has actually applied to a Grow Studio program, they will know that we ask substantial questions. We then evaluate the products as well. I was saying to you earlier how downstairs
you've got a box full of samples.
Box full of products for the Breakout Wellness program that at some point the team will be going through. We then take the team through a number of different interview rounds. And even though they're consumer product companies, we'll ask them about their use of technology. We'll ask them about their use of AI. And we'll evaluate these teams across the different verticals that we have and our measurement verticals. We'll bring retailers in, and we'll get retailers' opinions. We'll bring investors in. We'll bring people like yourselves in to have a look at these teams and tell us why they should be on the program, and why, or maybe even why they shouldn't be on the program. It's a very, very intensive part of the process. In fact, I'm going to say it's probably the most important and intensive part of the entire process.
So mentally, you've got to be really capable of handling that. And I suppose that's part of scaling a business as well. You have to work well under pressure as a founder.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, fundamentally, what we're saying to these founders is, for the next 3 months of this program, you need to stop working for your business and start working on your business. Any founder will know that they start a business and they start working, they've got this vision, but very, very quickly they get drawn into the operational side of their business. And we're giving them the opportunity to take a step up and out of that position they're currently in and really build that vision and rebuild the vision that they had. It's super important that the founder can do that and commit to that. And that takes time, and that takes energy, and that means managing your existing workload with the demands of what the program is asking of you. And these are pretty intensive programs, but they have to be intensive if we're going to deliver the outcome that we're promising.
What will be really interesting is these programs are intense. So you guys have been there, you've seen it. What would you say are the key learnings that you guys have taken from that you could potentially share with potential founders, current founders, people who are really thinking about, right, do they want to make that step? What would you say are the key learnings from working with all these fantastic different founders?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the first thing I'd say is it's not for everyone. There are plenty of businesses that are good businesses, thriving businesses that are also lifestyle businesses. There's no need for a business to move into retail if they don't want to, or they don't need to. That's the very first thing. So I'd ask every founder to really think about whether this is right for them.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is, don't do this alone. Bring in a co-founder to be part of the program, or bring in other colleagues in your management team to be part of the program. Share the workload. It's super important that the founder is leading this, but isn't the only person who's participating.
All the weight isn't on their shoulders.
The weight cannot be on their shoulders. The founder's got other things to do as well. And we're very cognizant of that. And that's why one thing we do is we really make sure that the program's flexible as possible around the founders, because there's a lot of mentorship involved in these programs. But ultimately, the founder has got a day job, but now also has another job, which is being part of the program. I would also say, whilst it's important to bring others into the program and share the workload, the founder has to take ownership of this. This is their baby, it's their business, it's their vision, and ultimately their decision. Also, what I would say, and one thing I feel like founders never quite meet, at least my mark that I envisage founders or what founders should be doing, maximize the opportunity at hand. We at Growth Studio, we've got an incredible amount of connections into retail, incredible amount of connection with partners, finishing line being one, and an incredible amount of connections with investors. Why am I not receiving more phone calls? Why am I not being bugged more by these founders to have these connections? Look, we will put these connections on the table, but the best founders are always those who are constantly nipping at our heels to get more. So this is an opportunity we're giving founders. We have got an entire plan of activities and connections we're making, but the founders need to do their job and maximize on that opportunity. Bug us, right? Annoy us with requests. What's the worst we can say? Sorry, we can't help you at this time. But that's okay, because the answer could also be, fine, here's a connection to investors, here's a connection to retailers.
So if you can't help them directly, it's how you can help them indirectly. Put them in touch with somebody else who can maybe help them.
Look, it's like anything else, right? Like the program is well planned and it's really carefully planned, but that's not all we can offer. A founder is entrepreneurial by definition, and I want to see the entrepreneurialism in action in this as part of this program.
So we've looked at some advice that you can give founders, potential founders starting out. You've obviously seen some really, really successful brands really go that extra mile. Along the way, there's always bumps in the road.
There is.
And you've obviously witnessed a lot of those. So what would you say are the key mistakes you have seen founders make, and how have you managed to help them get through those?
This is a very good question, because we see great products all the time. All the time. We see really, really good products, but what's the difference between a great product and a great business?
Don't know, you tell me.
The way that I see it, a great business is all about what happens in the back end. Right? So you have a great product. How are you using that product? How are you maximizing the value of that product? How are you getting that product to as many people as you possibly can? How are you getting that product for the cheapest possible cost? How are you selling that product for the maximum possible margin? And how are you doing this and managing all this in a way that can scale? We see so many founders who've got so much potential, and their product has got so much potential, but they just haven't focused enough on how they're going to make the business work. And I think that's the one thing that I personally look for very, very heavily when I'm looking at these applications. But as part of the program, we'll be delving into a lot. The operational side of the business matters just as much, if not more, than your consumer facing or your forward facing product.
It's the supply chain, it's your back end office, it's everything that makes sure that you get that product to market in the most efficient way, the most cost effective way as well. And I think that's something we see in Finishing Line as well, when we can help with customer supply chains, how we can advise them on packaging so it can maximize, putting it in the most, suitable postage bracket. It is really interesting the way that there's so much more to a business than just, we're selling this product.
There's so much more to a business than just selling the product. I think, that's absolutely true. And I think one thing that we find is entrepreneurs think they can do it all by themselves. There's neither a need to do it by yourself, and neither should you be doing this by yourself. Let experts come in and do their part of the process. And that makes the entire thing manageable as well. And that's the second mistake, that they don't work with enough experts that can take the pressure away from them, allowing them to focus on what they do best, and that's creating a product that customers really want. And the third mistake that I find founders making a lot, and it's quite a new one, is just because they're consumer products in wellness and other sectors, they're not immune from the changes of artificial intelligence. So how is AI being fed into their business? Now, you could argue that wellness products don't necessarily need AI in the product itself, and I would agree, but it's absolutely needed in the back end. As an investor, what I'd want to see is, fine, you're a consumer product, but how are you using AI to really maximize value? And not enough consumer product founders are doing that.
That's a really interesting point around AI. I mean, because I know that a lot of consumers are actually leveraging AI more in terms of evaluating a product, or even putting in the product's ingredients going, is this product as sustainable or as natural as they're making out?
Correct. And I've sat down with retailers who have actually said, if you're not showing up on ChatGPT or Claude, you might as well give up. And I'm pretty much verbatim what they said. I mean, it's so important that founders understand what AI means for their business, both in terms of sales, but also in terms of operations.
It's funny you say that around the AI side of it, because we're finding a lot more when people are discovering who Finishing Line are. It's not just organically searching, keywords or phrases. We're getting a lot more AI referrals with the likes of ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, because people are relying a lot more on, instead of just typing to Google, it's AI overviews. So it's making sure that you're being seen and leveraging in a way that it knows who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Correct. And what sort of questions your customers are really going to be asking. Very few people wake up in the morning and ask themselves, I want to know what Growth Studio do. And I'm sure it's the same for Finishing.
Exactly.
What a lot of people do wake up and think to themselves is, how can I get investment? How can I get onto the retail shelves? And if knowing that means that I now know what I need to do to make sure ChatGPT or Claude or any other LLM talks about me in the right way. And that's something that we talk about quite a lot in the program. But it's one thing that I find that consumer products founders are far behind on, and they need to catch up.
Let's talk more about the partnership with Finishing Line.
Yeah.
And what was it about Finishing Line that you felt aligned with Growth Studio and you wanted us to be part of the accelerator event for wellness and be the official fulfillment partner for it?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we work with a number of partners. And one thing we are very careful about is, are these partners going to help us deliver on our ultimate two promises, right? So the promise you make to startups that we're going to help get them retail ready, and also promise to retailers. When I think about Finishing Line, or when I left that first meeting with you, it occurred to me that you're more growth consultants than anything else. And I think that's the value of that we found with Finishing Line, and why we're super pleased that you're partners with us on the Breakout Wellness program. What does that mean though, right? So you have taken a view on every aspect of our client's business, from optimizing their packaging to the weight. You've kind of advised our clients on aspects of their business that I didn't think you would.
Okay.
But what that means is you're the right partners to come in and help that business grow, not just support them with fulfillment. That's the value here.
And I think that's fantastic. You've identified that, and that's great, because for us, we see ourselves as an extension of our customers' business. We don't just see ourselves as a supplier. For us, we're like yourselves, we take a consultative view, especially when we're identifying brands that are reaching out to us for assistance. We look at the founding team, the operational structure, the product, the industry. We look at it all and say, right, okay, can we really help them and fine tune them to be the best they can be? And for us, we're entrepreneurial at heart. Our MD, Andy, still owns the business. He started the business 39 years ago from his garage. And he's always says to me, always look, whether you're partners, suppliers, customers, always look for somebody with a bit of zip and a bit of nous.
I'll take that as a compliment.
And that's it with Growth Studio. For us, when we first met you guys, when we first did the Amazon Accelerator, I think it was nearly 2 years ago.
It was.
The thing that stood out for both Drew and myself was how supportive and collaborative both you and Paul were in terms of helping us in this space. We are growing 30% year on year, but we were really identified that partnerships are the key, especially for organic growth. And we were blown away by the fact that you guys were so helpful without, expecting anything in return. And you're always wary in business of, right, okay, they're being, really helpful, super, connecting everybody together. What's in it for them? And we quickly came to the conclusion that you guys just aligned with us. Yeah. And you said, you know what, we'll help them tenfold. Yeah. And when we first met you guys, we just did not think that we would be, a year and a bit later, being a key partner with you guys on the Breakout Wellness event. And for us, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Look, I'm glad you recognize that. If I was to narrow down probably like one of the most critical reasons for any success we can claim to have here at Grow Studio, I would say is that we're not selfish with our connections, and neither should anyone be.
Absolutely.
The more we can connect others, the more valuable we become in the industry. And that's advice I would give you and others as well.
Yeah.
Right. Share your connections. And I think a good example is, and we won't take any names, but we connected you with someone and you wanted to make a referral to them, but you said to me that they need to sort their cap table out and their finances out first. And that's just such a great example of how, yes, you're supporting this company with fulfillment, but at the same time, you've got a much wider lens on all of your clients' businesses. And no doubt you'll have that conversation, but that's exactly what you want from a partner.
It is, and I think it's quite pertinent. I've seen recently some very, very high profile founders, posting on the likes of LinkedIn, being like, one thing that surprised him is how guarded some people are around their connections, around manufacturers, suppliers, and whatever. And I completely agree with you. Is that why not just connect everybody? Yeah. And if I can't help somebody, if I can't connect one of my customers or help one of my customers directly, it's how can I help them indirectly?
Correct. Yeah.
And I think it's important, as you say, is for us, it's important that we have as much information and knowledge of our customer and their business as possible. Because at the end of the day, if they scale and grow, so does finishing line.
Yeah.
And again, that's why we're saying, look, have your board meetings at our facility. Don't get me wrong, we're not in the board themselves, but it's just letting the customer know we are here to help you grow. And, at times, of course, we're never going to put a cost to that, because for us, our time helping them, investing in them is going to come off tenfold further down the line.
Completely. And I think, look, you're going to meet our cohort on Breakout Wellness soon.
Very excited about that.
Yeah, as am I. It's going to be we're looking through the applications at the moment. There's going to be some incredible businesses. But anyway, it would be a wasted opportunity if we can't get you and your team to come in and give the same consultative overview
100%.
for these teams, because that's really the value here. The days of siloed disciplines within business are over.
Gone.
Right. So you might be a fulfillment partner, but the new expectation now is that how are you going to help me grow, not how are you going to help me fulfill.
100%. That's it. Who can you introduce to? Can you help me with retail, etc.? There's so many other facets that we have to help our customers with. Well, look, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, Ryan. Thank you so much. It's been really, really insightful. And we're super excited for the launch of the Breakout Wellness that's coming in September.
And we look forward to welcoming you there.
Perfect. Thank you.